Lawrence Taylor is going to be our first speaker this morning. He is an evidential medium. So he is going to talk to us about the fact that we're never alone, and I'm excited to hear what he has to say.
I think I'm on. Ooh, that's very loud. All right. Is that better?
Yep.
Good. All right. I'll probably start sitting. Thank you, everybody, for coming today. I have a few things to say before I actually start. And I'll just acknowledge when they put on the microphone, I suddenly got really nervous and thought of everything that could go wrong today. And then I rounded the corner, and I literally ran into a man with the same pink shirt, black pants, same black shoes, and we looked at each other and we both laughed, and I said, "Oh, you're a really sharp dresser," and it sort of broke the ice, so it was good. It was a relaxing thing. As Dawn said, my name is Lawrence. I'm an evidential medium. That means that I connect with people in spirit, and I give information that can be verified, so that you know I really do have somebody. Like, how could I know what to say unless I was connected to someone who knows you? The point of mediumship for me is to demonstrate that consciousness continues after our bodies stop working. And I believe that we are all spiritual beings having a temporary physical life experience. I grew up believing that, and then I became an adult and I re-examined those beliefs, and I still believe that. So if you go to my website, which is mediumlawrencetaylor.com, and there's business cards up here for anyone who might want them, there's only one sentence on the landing page that says, "Of all that you are, of all the things that you are, eternal is the most significant." And I really believe that. So I wanted to start with a quick anecdote I just heard at church Sunday. It's from a book called Mitch Albom's Tuesdays with Maury. And it's a quick little story about a little wave on the ocean. And he's bouncing along on the ocean, and he's having a great time, and he's so excited, and the sun is shining, and the day is warm, and then he notices way down ahead of him that all the waves are crashing on the shore, and he's horrified. And so this bigger wave comes along, and you can see he's upset, and he says, "What's wrong with you? Why do you look so sad?" And the little wave says, "Well, can't you see we're all going to crash on the shore? This is terrible. What do we do?" And the larger wave says, "Oh, you don't understand. You're not a wave. You're part of the ocean." And that's how I feel about people. You're a wave right now. You're in that body right now. But what we all are really are these spiritual beings having a very temporary experience. So when a medium connects with someone in spirit, what we're connecting with is what we all are for most of our existence. Really, I believe for most of our existence, we're not in a body, and so that's what we're connecting with. So it's a very natural thing. And because of that, anybody, in my opinion, can do mediumship. It's a natural part of being human. It is not a magical power. It's not a special gift. I even hesitate to call it psychic because so much baggage comes with that word. I just think it's a normal part of being human. So, and when I say anyone can do this, I mean like anyone can make a sound on a piano. So, you press the keys, you made a sound. And then maybe you'll put some effort in and you can do chopsticks, or maybe you'll become a concert pianist or something in the range in between that. Whatever your natural inclination for it is and how much effort you want to put into developing it, that will determine how well you do. This is not a plug, I don't teach, I'm just giving you my opinion about the subject of mediumship. So, I call this talk, "We Are Never Alone," because from my experiences, I really believe that someone is constantly with us from the moment of birth. They're not looming over our shoulder, they're within proximity of us, and things that happen to us or things that we do get their attention and they come closer. Like going to a mediumship demonstration, that gets their attention, and so they come closer. And so I have a whole list of things here to say. That gets their attention. So what I want to do today, I believe they're very much involved in our day-to-day lives, and we're getting often constant input from them. And most of us are completely unaware of that. And part of that is because when humans get constant input from any source, we filter it out. So just like most or all of you right now are not aware of the people in spirit that are here with you, most or all of you are not aware of the sensation of your feet being inside your shoes. But now that I'm talking about your feet inside your shoes and I'm turning your attention to your feet, you can feel the pressure of your feet touching the inside of your shoes. But that sensory input your brain has been getting constantly since you put your shoes on this morning, but we filter it out. So what I do is when I connect, I stop filtering them out, I deliberately turn my attention to them, And then I start paying attention to what I'm experiencing. What am I remembering? What am I thinking? How am I feeling? What am I seeing in my head? And I narrate that experience. And that narration is what everybody calls mediumship. So what I wanted to do today was give you a kind of like behind the scenes experience, because if you've seen a medium, like on TV, probably if you've seen a medium like Tyler Henry or John Edwards, sometimes they'll say how they're getting what they're getting, but I'm going to try to do that with everything I say. I will probably get caught up in the momentum of a reading, so I may forget. If that happens, I'll just go back over it really quickly at the end. You'll see me looking. I already started a stopwatch on my watch because in a mediumship reading, 20 minutes can go like that. And I don't want to spend more than 5 or 6 minutes with any one person, and we have really limited time anyway. So I'll be doing that. Also, because this is a group, there's some differences. A normal mediumship reading is one-on-one, and so things happen differently in a group. So the normal process is I'll connect, I can feel someone, I'll start describing them, and one of you would say, I understand most or all of what you're saying. And if you could just limit it to that, I understand or I don't understand, or yes or no. Because it's tempting to say, that's my mom who had a heart attack in 1992 in San Francisco. Like, that's too much information. Let them give those details so that you and others can see they can give those kinds of details. So there's that. Also, what can happen, because this is a group, is I might start describing someone you know who's living, like your spouse, or I might describe you. And when that happens in a group like this, it's to get me to the right person in the group. That's happened a few times in group readings. So, and if that happens, then an actual mediumship reading will start, but that can happen. The other thing I want to say is that anybody can come through. So it's normal, as much as you might want to hear from one particular person, anyone can come through, and it's not unusual if I start speaking for one of you to think, oh, I understand all of that, but that person would never come for me. They're coming for you, because people in spirit see a mediumship demonstration as their opportunity to participate, to express themselves. So there's that. And then the final thing I'll say, and also anyone, even someone you never knew. So if your spouse had a parent who died before you married them, but you know a lot about them, if you can recognize what I'm getting, they're here to interact. So anyone can come through. And then the last thing I'll say before I start is, if you understand who I'm describing and you don't want to participate, please tell me. That's okay. You can say, I understand what you're saying, but I just want to watch. I don't want to participate. Because most people don't want to hold a mic and talk in public. That's super stressful to a lot of people. You're not going to offend me. And also it's a lot nicer to tell me that than to leave me hanging. So that until because they're just going to keep giving me stuff until somebody just says, I understand, but I don't want to play. Or I understand, or they're just going to keep doing it. So, okay, that's enough. I've been talking and talking. Good, I think that's all I want to say. Let me just, give me a second. Ooh, sorry. This is very loud in my ears. Okay. All right, I have to say, so this is how this works for me. I'm very much of a woman standing with me. The strange thing is she's referencing my mom, which would typically mean I have your mom, one of your moms, except that I'm getting her on what for me is father's side of the family. This feels like not a very tall woman, but she feels very strong-willed. So I'm going to say short, but don't mess with her. And I feel like she's this kind, loving individual, but I feel like she can have a little bit of an edge. I feel like she's this kind, loving person as long as things are going her way, or as long as you're being polite or behaving yourself, but if you step out of line, she's going to tell you. She's going to say something about it. And I'm also seeing my own mother in my head in just like a house dress, like a muumuu, and she's standing shouting at us in the yard. So does that ring for anyone? Mother-in-law? Do you understand all of that or most of that?
All of it.
All of that, okay. And do you understand this is not a sudden passing? Oh, yes, microphone, thank you. Sorry, thank you. You can stand if you want, or you can stay. Actually, it would help if you stand, but it's okay if you don't. Thank you for saying something. You understand this is not a sudden passing. This person has time to contemplate their own passing. They get ill. So that's how I get that. I will either feel an abrupt passing, or I feel like, oh, I have time to think, I'm really sick. I do want to say, do you understand this person stays until the very last possible second? I feel like she stays alive through an act of will, right? So she must be very, very sick at the end of her life. You understand that? Okay, and did you help take care of her a little bit, or you understand that? It's funny, parents, this mom?
My grandma.
Grandma. Okay, parents and grandparents come in all the time with "I love you, I'm proud of you." I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm flooding with gratitude. So I feel like you had to do things like intimate care for this person in the bathroom and stuff like that. You understand there was a lot of help. And did you actually tell her something like, "Be my baby," or "Let me be the mom," or "Let me," do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay, I am so filled, speaking from this woman's perspective, I know I have to walk up my watch. I'm so filled with gratitude for you. And I do feel so proud of you. I know that's not evidential because grandparents are just proud of their grandchildren. Is it correct? Do you understand that maybe you were closer to this woman than her own child was?
Yes.
Okay, and is this Dad's mom?
My mom's mom.
Why am I getting over here? See, right side for me is usually when I get people on my right, that's father's side or masculine side of the family, and left side is mom's side. So it's interesting that I'm getting her like that. And so going back to grandma's temper, do you understand she's this fun, fairly loving grandma, and I feel like really good with little kids, and maybe was good with her own child when they were little, but then the older they got, there's more difficulties, and then there's sort of a difficulty in the relationship when the child is older, when your parent is older, right? But you understand that? So
yes, there's definitely difficulty between my mom and her mom.
Okay, and but with you, it's almost all good memories, right?
A lot of good memories.
How I'm getting at is this: my father was estranged from his mom. I was super close to his mom. She's one of the most loving relationships I've ever had. But she made mistakes with my dad. And so we had our own relationship separate from what my father had from her. And I feel like I feel this appreciation for your relationship. So is it also correct that this woman wants to pass in her own home, but eventually you've just got to put her in some kind of facility because it becomes impossible to take care of her home?
Yes.
How I got that was my mom was desperate to pass at home, and we tried. And we tried, and we kept her home longer than we should have. And eventually we put her in a facility. I think I can say this without crying. We put my mom in a nursing home. It was a great nursing home. It was expensive. She had great care. And I felt like I threw her away. So I don't know, are you Latina or are you not?
Lebanese.
Oh, Lebanese. Well, let me just tell you, Latinos, we don't put our moms and grandparents in facilities. You bring them home to live with you. We tried that. We couldn't. It was just too much. My brother's a nurse. And it was just too much. She needed too much medical care. We couldn't do it. And so that's what this woman is showing me. Like, I go kicking and screaming into I'm really resistant to being in a nursing facility. And she passes in the medical facility, right? You understand that?
Yes.
Is there I think it's a child of hers, and I don't know, I feel like it's a man, but there's somebody who can't be there in time before she passes. Do you understand that?
Yes.
When they show me that, because that happened with my mom, one of my brothers couldn't be there, and she's like, "It's okay." So I want to tell you, they really know how we feel. They know how much we love them. They know how much we miss them. And this woman is like, "It's okay, we're good." Like, whoever that is that didn't make it in time, there's absolutely no hard feelings. What do I want to say about you? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to breathe out that side of my mouth. I've never had this a lot of life before. It's throwing me a little bit. So, are there times, I just want to do a couple more things with you so that I can move to somebody else. But do you understand childhood memories where it's just you and this woman, and I don't know if you're doing board games or coloring, but that there's time, I want to say special times, just us? Or no other adults, maybe just her and the kids, but not other grown-ups around?
Possibly.
Okay, it just feels like a really special time to me. And I feel like you must be aware of how much this person loves you, but what she wants to say is, "Oh, thank you so much." Like, I feel this appreciation. I feel like other people, I mean this respectfully, I feel like other people who you would think would have helped me or you think would have done something didn't, and you did. Like, you were the one to step up, or you were the one. And you didn't have to, obviously, right? She's not your mom, she's not your spouse, but she's like, and you did. So it feels like there's a variety of people who could have helped but didn't, and you did. Do you understand that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't know if there's arguments or issues around inheriting something or keeping something of hers.
There was.
Do you understand?
Yes.
I feel... I'm reluctant to talk about that. What I want here's what I want to say. I feel like she's making me feel like somebody hurt your feelings about that, whatever the inheritance or keeping her thing is, and I want to say, it doesn't matter. What we had is what we have. I'm still here. You still love me. I still love you. The objects don't matter. It's what's between us is what matters, and I love you. This woman loves you so much. This is hard for me. It's a funny thing for someone to say through me, because it's hard for me to do even now. Do you understand if she's just telling you, try to forgive them? I want to say don't. She's 40. Here's what it feels like. Because I have people who've been in my family who've been really terrible to me. And she's making me feel like holding on to that. Because here's what I want to say. They're wrong. You're correct. They are wrong. You're absolutely right. But it's hurting you. Focusing on what they did wrong and their F-ups is hurting you. And I wanted to say, do what you can. I hate when people tell me, oh, just let it go, just get over it, because that doesn't work for me. But she's making me feel like, just set that aside and don't expect from them what you should get from them, just like I didn't get whatever I should get from people. And just love like you loved me, love other people, let other people love you. And stop wanting them to do, I feel like they're not capable emotionally of stepping up and doing whatever it is that you really want someone to do. And she's like, that's them. It has nothing to do with you. It's them. It's their problem. And let someone else love you, is what I want to say. Okay. Thank you. That was that person.
Thank you. Great to
you understand?
Start the day, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And did I not explain? Is there anything I didn't explain? Okay, it's hard to remember to do that.
I think it was all very, to me, it was all very clear.
Good.
I have a little bit of closure.
I'm glad. Thank you. It's funny. I have relatives who were terrible to me. They were relentlessly unkind while they were here. And everybody gets better when they pass. The hardest thing for me to reconcile myself to when I started this whole world of mediumship is that everyone gets better, everyone gets nicer. And so when they give evidence, like when they were really awful and controlling, it's not how they are now, but they'll still describe that so that someone can recognize. I feel like I'm supposed to take a question. So does someone have a question about mediumship or a question about me, or should I just go on? Question?
I'm like not 100% convinced about mediumship because I feel like there is some evidence of telepathy that we are telepathic at one point in our existence.
Could you say that again?
So how do you know, even though I do believe in like spirit guides and I believe in connection with the spirit realm, and I believe there's scientific evidence of that. So how do you differentiate between you being able to read people's thoughts and minds versus actually connecting? Because we are living with these memories.
I agree.
And I feel telepathy within my family, within my kids who are little, 3-year-olds, at a very early age, they're saying things that they've never heard, but I'm thinking about it, or I know it's there.
It's for sure there. So your question is, how do you know you're not just reading people's minds? How do you know you're getting stuff from people in spirit? No, that's a totally valid concern. I've seen mediumship readings where I'm like, oh, you're not doing mediumship, you're reading the person, like I could tell that's what was happening. So for the most part, so here's how I know. For me personally, and this isn't evidential, when I'm connected with someone, it feels like what they're giving me is falling on me, and when I get something from someone, it feels horizontal.
Okay.
It's
So
not
are you
very,
feeling that? Are you feeling
I can feel it, yes, I can feel the
like
difference.
I had a question about like what your point of view, or how you differentiate between telepathy.
I can feel it, but also I will get things that people say no to, and then later they come back and say, oh yeah, I checked with my mom and she said that's true. And so when people get things, when a medium I've gotten things that the person doesn't know, but they find out later, so I couldn't have gotten it from them. And I've been read by lots of mediums, so just so you know, mediums know each other and we practice on each other. And I've been read where I've forgotten, like, oh God, I forgot all about that, yes. So I can tell they couldn't have read it for me because it was something I hadn't thought about in 40 years. So, but it is absolutely possible that can happen. So I would say if you're in a mediumship reading with somebody and they're only talking about your life now and only talking about you and not really describing someone in a spiritual relationship, that's sort of an indicator that they might just be reading the person psychically instead of actually connecting with someone in spirit. That can absolutely happen. It's a valid concern, yeah, for sure. Yeah, let me, okay. I don't know what time it is. Now I do. Ooh, we don't have that much more time. Do we have 10 minutes or do we have?
We have it till 11.
Okay, great. I actually can't see you because there's a bright light in my eyes, so I'll try to remember to do this every once in a while. I can't see past about the middle row there. All right, all right, just give me a second here and we'll do another, it's so weird they're coming in from this side today. So I'll just tell you, when I came in the room in my head, I was seeing people line up over here, but I feel like they're coming in this way. Isn't that weird? They were coming from a direction. I don't know what to make of this. I'll just tell you what I'm getting. I feel it's always better not to judge what you're getting, to just sort of narrate what's happening. So let me tell you. I feel like I have a man with me, and this is super weird. I feel like he's behind me, holding my hands, and I don't know if he's letting me sit in his lap and steering the car, but I feel like his hands are on my wrists, and we're playing he's showing me how to do something, whether that's pretending to drive a car, or to do some sporting activity. I definitely have this man who feels very dad-like. And I feel like this is the kind of guy who wouldn't just, like if you were sitting on the stool, he wouldn't just tell you, do it this way or do that. I feel like he'd actually be next to you and like leaning over you. I feel like this person leans over me, tucks me in to teach me things. Does that bring like an affectionate, this feels like an affectionate teacher or dad? Back there, maybe? Okay, maybe, but that's good. Let's leave it at maybe. Let me just keep going with this man. All right, so I feel, speaking from his perspective, like I'm fairly tall, and I also feel like I'm very much into teaching. Like one of the ways I express love is to teach you things. Like the more I can teach. So here's how I'm getting this. I was raised by only my mom. My father was estranged, and my mother was terrified that she would die and there'd be no one to take care of me or to teach me about life. And so as soon as I was old enough for a new skill, she was teaching me that new skill. She taught me to drive when I was 12 because I was taller than her. So this man feels very teachy, like he's really into giving his child or children skills, passing on skills. Do you understand that? It what? Just the driving bit. So for you, it would be a man who taught you how to drive, and that would be dad? Oh, grandpa, that's weird. I keep getting them as parents and their grandparents. So typically for me, I have to do this because I can't see you. Typically for me, people your generation feel like they're on the same floor with me. Parents feel up a step and grandparents feel up 2 steps. So if I'm with you, which I know, maybe you?
Well, I'm curious because I have a stepdad that was a driving teacher and a teacher, obviously.
Maybe. Well, let me do it this way. So I'm not sure which one of you that I'm with, although he did come over on this side. Do you understand? Does this narrow it down for one of you? When I was a kid, in the 70s, we still had cars with the big steering wheels and the cars with the bench seats, and so instead of the bucket seats that we have now. And I feel like this man at some point would have had one of those cars where there's just one big bench seat in the front seat of the car. Does that narrow it down between the two of you? Is that for you? Okay, so that's Grandpa.
I'm sure he would have.
And yours would have. Maybe you. I also want to say this. I've never had a light in my eyes like this, so it's distracting, but that's okay. It's good to just acknowledge stuff like that. I also want to say, does one of you understand pretending to drive this giant thing before you were ever allowed to actually get back behind? Is that you? I'm probably with you, because what I'm seeing is neighbors we had, friends and neighbors we had who they had one of those old-fashioned cars and they would let me get in it, and I couldn't even see over the thing, but they would let me pretend to drive. Is there some story about you doing something you shouldn't have in the car, like pulling the gear shift or doing... Oh. I can't hear you, so...
Sorry. I mean, that could be my father too, but I feel more grandpa.
All right, let's just see let me just keep going and we'll see how this goes. Okay, so I got the big bench seat car, and this is the old-fashioned car. I'm stuck with the car. So you know those big wheels and there was like a metal bar and that was for the horn? Do you understand that? And there's also, wow, I haven't thought of this in years, headlights were a button on the floor. That's how you did headlights. I don't know if you remember that. Okay, so it's that kind of car. I don't know if it's dad or grandfather, so I'm just going to keep going with this man. I feel like you would often know this man to be in short-sleeve shirts. He feels muscular to me. I feel like this guy is very strong. Even as he gets older, even in his 50s, he feels very strong. He feels very healthy, even as he gets to be older. And do you also understand, in his own opinion, he's very good-looking, or he actually is very good-looking? Is that dad or grandpa?
That would be father.
Father, okay. And is he actually very good looking?
Yes.
I feel like I notice women's attention and I like it. I feel like
That's Dad.
Good, okay. I might be with Dad and not, because this feels more like Dad than grandfather, but let's.
Grandpa can be jokey too.
Okay, and Dad is strong and muscular even into his 50s and 60s. He's a vital, healthy guy, right?
Not healthy, but good looking and
Okay.
strong.
I feel like I have strong arms. I'll just say,
Yes.
I'll say that to you. And I feel like my choice to do physical labor, so he feels very smart. So is this someone who's academically, like has an education but does a lot of labor stuff? Do you understand that? It's okay to say no.
I don't know that one.
Okay,
Maybe
let me
that's-
I just know I'm outside a lot. I feel tanned.
Yes.
I feel weathered. I might often be shirtless. And do you understand he would wash his own car in the driveway rather than taking it somewhere? Does that make sense? I kind of like that. I like the heat of the sun on my back. I like being shirtless. I like washing things. I also feel like every once in a while people are watching me, so I'm aware. I just say I feel like this man knows he's good looking, and but I don't feel like he's arrogant about it.
No,
He feels
he's
like a
not.
nice guy about this, right? But I'm aware that people are attracted to me, and I like that. So I assume the woman he's referencing is your mom or his wife, but you understand this guy also dances. He's a fairly decent dancer.
Yes.
Do you understand that? Because I suddenly feel like I've grabbed this woman, and I think people watch us. And do you understand my partner, or whoever this woman is pretty good about not being jealous of people finding my spouse so attractive. I feel like she's just resigned herself to it, like, yeah, he's really hot, and people are going to look at my husband. So this feels more like Dad than Grandpa. I'm hearing Glenn Miller's Moonlight Serenade. It's 40s Big
That
Bang.
might be Grandpa. I bet you the two are.
You think I have Dad and Grandpa?
He might.
Interesting, that happens. Are they father and son?
No, but they work together, which is odd. And
Okay, so there is a tight relationship between them, but they're not that interesting. I want to try to stick with one. I prefer when there's one person. Is he or some boy connected to him left-handed? Because I suddenly feel like I'm hitting a bat left-handed.
yes.
Okay. Isn't that a weird way to give me that?
I think he's left-handed. It's fine. He's definitely.
Okay, I want to reference the person. I literally feel like I'm hitting. I can't do anything. I can't throw a ball, I can't hit a bat, I can't do anything with my left hand, and I definitely suddenly feel like I'm knocking out a park left-handed, so that's hysterical. That's a very funny way to give me that. And do you understand that this man attends like Little League games or some sporting thing in support of younger people? I feel like I'm sitting watching a baseball game, or I'm sitting watching.
That might be with his other family.
Okay, it doesn't feel like a professional game, it feels like kids, it feels like that kind of thing, and I'm definitely rooting on. And I think he's good about rooting on all the kids, not just his own person in the game. And you understand sportsmanship and being honest, and that's part of learning. It's not just being good at the sport. It's like, I want you to be a good person. He feels moralistic in a good way. I don't feel like he's a jerk about it. He just feels like a pretty upstanding.
Just all about fun.
Okay. An upstanding guy. This also does not feel like an abrupt passing, but he's not showing me how he passes. Give me a second here. So do you understand he has a very sudden, rapid decline? I feel like, well, could you hold that up again? Because I just saw it. Oh, thank you. Do you understand that this man, there is some event and then he isn't here very long after the event? Okay, I don't know if that's an injury or illness, but I feel like I do know I'm going to pass. I feel like there's an event and it's I have to hold this up because I want to see this rapid decline in my health. And I feel surprised, and I feel a little bit into denial, like this can't be happening to me. So this is an illness, do you understand that?
Mm-hmm.
Here's why I said that. Because I feel like this isn't my fault. So it'd be like lung cancer for someone who never smoked, or liver cancer for someone who never was an alcoholic. I feel like whatever's wrong with me, I feel like I can't believe this is happening to me. And I feel like they're wrong. So he does go get like other opinions, and then they keep telling him, yeah, you're sick, your time is short. And this man at some point is in uniform of some kind, or some kind of service. Do you understand? Or is that Grandpa?
That's Grandpa.
Ah, it's Grandpa. Grandpa, we're going to hold on because I want to stick with Dad. I want to stick with Dad. So, I don't know, Dad or Grandpa, one of them has a tattoo. They're showing me my own father's
Yes,
tattoo.
that's Grandpa.
Is that Grandpa? Maybe I'm switching to Grandpa, which is his father-in-law, not his dad, is what you said, right? So I have this man, I think I'm switching to grandpa because I want to go, I love her too, or she's mine too. Like I feel like he's hogging the spotlight. So do you understand the playful competition between these two guys?
Yeah, that's why I said they're probably both.
Got it, okay. And you understand even though grandpa must be older, I feel like he tries to keep up physically. Like they run upstairs together, or I'm just as good as you, it's that kind of thing?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
there's age differences.
And you also try, do you understand, trying to one-up each other, but in a friendly, competitive way? I don't know if these guys actually take bets.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
You understand? I feel like I'm betting, and I feel like I'm betting on almost anything. Like we're at a family event, and I kind of lean into the other guy and I go, bet she says this, or I bet this happens. Like I feel like they're constantly, so there's a camaraderie between these two guys, right? You understand that? I'm literally seeing my uncle and his much older brother arm in arm on a couch, so I definitely feel like there's a lot of easy affection between these men. I feel like they're very comfortable in each other's company. So you said they work together. Is that a company that is theirs?
No.
Okay, they just work together.
Mm-hmm.
I got the word company was really loud all of a sudden. Well, I could totally be out in left field with this. Do you understand a Bobby or a Robert connected to them? That's a name I associate with company. It's a musical. It's okay if not. You would have gotten it by now.
They'll probably get it later.
Okay, that's okay. All right, so I have these two men. I think I'm going to have to take another question. Let me just wrap up with these two guys. This is so funny. It's not necessarily evidential, although you seem to understand their personalities. I feel like we're competing to show who's more affectionate, or who can give more detail, or who can be the loudest up here with this guy. They're both going, this guy. I literally feel like one of them is taking my hand and going, this guy, very jokingly. So you also understand this is the kind of, I have an uncle who would do this. He'd walk by me, and he wouldn't even like acknowledge that I was there. He'd go like that, and he'd chat me in the, and I feel like these guys do that. Like there's a sudden, gotcha thing. So they're very, back to the holding me even closer doing the driving thing, they're very touchy-feely. These guys feel very demonstrative, that's what I'm looking for. They both feel they feel like demonstrative men. So like father and son, right? They're that close.
Like pals.
Pals. My mom and her mother-in-law were super close. That's why I asked that. They were like mother and daughter. They were really close friends. Okay. The oldest guy, so the one with the tattoo, this isn't evidential, but I'm going to tell you. The oldest one with the tattoo is going, we love her! And I feel like that's the only point. Just tell her that. But she already knows that. So that's you're just coming to it with the love. Oh, okay, one last thing. Dad makes me feel like you're very upstanding in some way. So I don't know if it's a work situation or there's some recent thing where you had to make a choice between compromising what you think is right and doing the right thing, but I feel like she always does the right thing, or that's how he makes me feel like you do the right thing, or you're the one who stands up, like a social justice-y thing. Unless I'm switching to someone else. You understand that, you? Okay, you don't know. Okay. That's okay, so that's them. I'll just tell you what happens when they're done, when they're finished with me. I literally feel dropped. It's like a mic drop, I feel like, and I just feel a little bit dropped. So, we have until the hour. We have like 10 minutes? I don't know, person's not here. Do you have any more questions? Because that helps too, just to hear people's voices. Here comes the microphone.
Yeah, we're a big video, so.
There you go.
So I'm curious, this is something I ponder a lot about when we pass. I fully believe what you said, that our souls are having these long existences beyond our physical body. But I've always been curious about mediumship because it implies, or what you're showing is that you stay sort of as this one energetic being instead of going back into, say, a greater pool of energy where you are just part of Source.
I understand.
Where you might forget that you were someone's dad, or maybe you wouldn't forget, but it's not the focus anymore. So if you're staying in entity and you're hanging around, kind of, do all, like, well, the beings you've experienced, are they all doing that, or do some make choices about staying nearby a living person and others go kind of back? I'm confusing it a little bit.
No, you're not at all. I understand. I see these are things I had to ask myself about when I started doing this, and I understand your question. So I can only give you my opinion on the subject.
I would love
and
your
so
opinion
here's
on the
this, and so here's this, because this was hard for me too when I first found this world mediumship. I was raised to believe in reincarnation, and I still do. Well, how does that fit in? Like, how does that work, right? So there's a medium in England, his name is Charlie Kelly. He gives this really good explanation where he holds up a Rubik's Cube and he says, the person that we connect with, that's one of these little squares. The whole cube is like the soul is that person, and so we're connecting with this one little square. And there's a whole bunch of other lives and other personalities that they have, but who we connect with is that, because that's how we recognize them, or that's the part of them that had a relationship with us. This is going to sound super weird. I'm not sure that we're individuals. I feel like each of us is sort of a collection of energy that's expressing as an individual, expressing through a body. And I suspect that consciousness is received by our bodies rather than housed inside our bodies, because that helps explain how our bodies stop working, the consciousness still continues, right? So I'm still toying with that, but yeah, so what I get is that they're still themselves, but they're free of a body. There's a lot of issues that come up with being in a physical body, and a lot of it is the anger, like just the experiences. They feel so real and traumatic, and then from their perspective, they're like, oh, that was temporary, like that's a short part of my existence.
So do you think you think that we get kind of better on the other side, if you will? Is that just, because I always believe like your perspective widens because now you're, like you said, you're back in the cube, if you want to use that analogy, so you're open to all the things that you had shut yourself off from, being in a body, feeling so isolated as a single unit.
So everyone gets kinder, everyone gets nicer. The first time I went and saw a medium in person, one of my really mean-spirited relatives came through, and I didn't claim it, and the guy kept, like, I asked you, please tell. I wasn't going to say it. I think they would never come through for me. And it got more and more specific, and he finally said, I think I'm with you. Like, I had this room full of people. It's like, I'm like, well, I understand what you're saying, but they were awful. Like, I don't know why. And these awful people have always come through friendly and loving and kind, and nothing like they were while they were here. But like, the data about them is so specific, it has to be them. So everybody does get better, and kinder, they get to be the better version of themselves. So, but yeah, I don't know how. I think there's more to all that is than we can understand, and more than we can explain in physical speech. Because I do believe in reincarnation. I'm certain of that. I clicked instantly with my spouse and my in-laws. Instantaneously, we all got along. And I've had some relationships like that where I meet someone and they're like family from that day forward, and it's been 30 years and we're still close. So there has to be, I just feel like I've had history with certain people that predates this life. And yet I do mediumship. And so I don't know how long. It may be that we wait until. So here's what's happened. I've done some readings where I'll get somebody's grandparent, and they'll say, I'm grandma anyway, or I'm grandpa anyway. And if I finally figured out over several readings that meant the child had been born after they had passed. And they're like, I'm still the grandma. It doesn't matter that we didn't know each other in life. And so even people like grandparents that you didn't know, and even great-grandparents, they're watching us. They're aware of our lives. And so that makes me question, how far does that go back? Is that like great-great-great-great-great-grandparents? Like, who's watching us? And at what point do they stop watching and come back to participate? And I think maybe I think maybe when you stop knowing people here is when you come back and participate. I don't know. There's a lot of questions.
There's some beautiful ideas. I appreciate your thinking.
Thanks for the question. That's what I wanted. There's questions about like mediumship and life and like that kind of thing. So how much time do we have?
5 minutes.
Oh, 5 minutes. That's not really enough time to do another readout. See, I can't really see, so just so you know, for future people, the lights are right there, and the nice lady in the back is waving this 5-minute sign at me, and I couldn't see it. Yeah, it's 5 minutes. So let's just do questions. If you have any, anyone at all. Hello. Thank you for coming. It was so nice of you to do this and be here and be friendly and speak up and say, yeah, here, I think you're with me, and I'm sorry the person wasn't for you.
Oh, no.
And thank you for not getting upset, because that's happened where people are like, well, I understand it too, and then they get upset when I don't go to them. But it feels like inside my ribs, it feels like a tug, and I felt more toward you than toward you, so that's how I am with you. Yeah. Sorry, question.
The question is, you mentioned in the beginning that everybody has this capacity, and you were comparing it to piano. So how do you practice to be better at medium?
Here's what you can do. So here's how I started. I sort of stumbled into this. I just sit quietly with somebody who you know but maybe don't know all of their people in spirit. And if you think about it, you probably have friends that you know really well that you don't know the grandparents, or people who have passed. And just do it with the intention to do mediumship, like you're going to connect with someone, and pay attention to what you are experiencing. And when your thoughts and your feelings are unrelated to the immediate environment. So when I first started to do this, I was actually with Emily, who started this whole thing. We were in a coffee shop together. She asked me to do a reading, and I just sat there. And I could have been thinking about the food that we were going to eat or things that we had done together because we're friends. And so I just waited until my mind drifted. And I was suddenly remembering how I used to translate court reporters' notes for LA Superior Court before computers did that. And also how court reporting is done differently on the East Coast than on the West Coast. So I said that to her, or it wasn't Emily, it was someone else, but I said that to her, and the woman said, my brother is in spirit, and he used to teach court reporting on the East Coast. That's how it works. You're not gonna see people, you're not gonna see ghosts walking into the room, you're not gonna hear voices. You might, some people see things and hear things. You're more likely you will feel things in your own body, your own memories will be triggered. You may remember everyone you've ever known named James or Jim, and then, like, if I look at you and all of a sudden everyone I've ever known named Jerry pops into my head, I know there's a Jerry with you. Like, that's how that happens. So that's what it's like. It's not like people think. And when I see things, it's usually referential. So I will see, like, I could see with you, my dad. So that's how I get it, and so that's why I thought it was your dad. So I'm not seeing your father, but I'm seeing who I know is my father. And the way I see that is the same way you look at a room and rearrange it, or look at a room and paint it in your head. It's in your mind's eye. So that's how it works for most people that I know that are mediums. That's how it works for them. So, yeah, is that all of our time?
We have about 2 minutes.
2 minutes. That's one more question. Ooh, yes.
How do you differentiate when you're feeling, sure you're empathic?
It's okay.
So you're feeling empathic and everything that's going around in the world. How do you deal with that?
I didn't realize that I was all that empathic until I started doing this. So that's a good question. It's that vertical falling on me feeling as opposed to coming at me horizontally. I don't know how else to explain it. So when I connect, if light had a sense of weight, it feels like a very light piece of silk is like falling on me. And then it also feels like the information is sort of falling into me. That's the best way I can describe it. Whereas if you're with someone in a room and you can tell they're angry and you can feel it coming at you, when it's coming at you like horizontally, that's not them. and that's how. So the feelings of love that I was getting for this lady was weirdly coming from this direction, but that's still above me, right? That's still not right next to me. So and I can feel. If you've ever held, like, I don't have children, but I'm the favorite uncle, and so you've had your heart swell with love, and when I was connected with your person, my heart was just swelling, like my throat tightened up and I wanted to cry, because they make me feel things. And that's true of all mediums, they get us to feel our own emotions. So, yeah, so that's that. All right. Oh, thank you so much for coming. This is really good. Thank you.
Lawrence, thank you so much.